What is the national dish of Spain?
Paella?
Yeah, damn. See, this is I always am like amazed. I'm like, I would never get this. Okay, let me find a better one then. This one's dumb.
It's like I
Uh
never left.
exactly. He's sharp as ever. Okay. Ah, no, you would probably know this one. I'm trying to find one that you might not know. Uh okay. Which country did AC/DC originate in? This is news to me personally.
Scotland?
Australia.
Oh, yeah, I
It's
knew
an,
they spoke English with weird accents. I just forgot
yeah,
which ones.
I had no idea. I thought
Uh,
they were a American
you
band, but
stumped
that's
me.
yeah. Um, well, we're back. We are
I
here.
know that was such a cold open.
Yeah,
We didn't record a podcast for a year and a half.
we jumped right back in with, and I went to the same website, Scary Mommy. It's they, she's still active. Unlimited trivia
Still
questions.
scary.
Yeah, the headline, A Battle of the Brains. Um, yeah, we're here. Today we have a very we this is the comeback episode. Um, Also it's funny the writer of this article at Scary Mommy is not anybody. It just says by Team Scary Mommy.
So it's like
Uh,
AI.
yeah, I think yeah, that's a better way of putting it. But yeah, we have a very special episode today. Uh, we have Carson Lund on the show to talk about Eephus.
Yeah. Not to
Um,
be confused with Karsten Runquist.
right, yeah. Have I told you
Very
this
different.
before that like when I uh recently I used to say Finn. I think you know about this. I used to say my name was Finn at like coffee orders, but now I've been
Yeah.
saying Carson because I'm like, well, that's a little bit more
Yeah, and
normal.
also like you'll naturally react to
Yeah, I'll
that.
react to that. Yeah. And
Yeah.
they never have a problem spelling that. There's no question.
I
Um,
mean, sometimes they probably go K, sometimes C.
yeah, I will say, quick story. I switched to Carson because of this. This was like fairly recently in like December. I was getting pizza and they asked for my name and I said Finn. And then when she brought out the pizza, she was like, "Is your name actually Finn?" And I was like, "No." She was like, "I love your videos." And I was this is, I'm never doing that again.
Oh,
That was terrible. She's like, this guy thinks he's hot
that's
shit. He had to
yeah, it's like, yeah, this
like,
guy's
no, it's because it's hard to pronounce. It's hard to
yeah.
spell. It's but Jeff, how have you been? Let's get
I'm
a
good.
an
I'm
update.
yeah, I'm currently for at least the next couple months living in Appleton, Wisconsin.
Hell yeah. How is Appleton?
Which well, it's it used to be like really important.
Really?
It's not anymore. It's definitely
Well,
not anymore.
isn't it the
But
capital of Wisconsin?
no, that's Madison.
Oh, never mind.
Uh, see another trivia question. Uh, but Appleton, there's this house
Yep.
that's like on the river because there's a big river here, and this is where all the paper mills used to be. So like next to Appleton, there's Kimberly, like Kimberly Clark.
Uh-huh.
It's the first house to ever be powered by hydroelectricity. The
Oh,
invention of green energy as anything was in Appleton, Wisconsin,
wow. This is
and the
a
house still stands.
damn.
Yeah, and like all of the old wiring is still in it. It's not used anymore because it's like a massive fire hazard.
Yeah.
But like the original Edison company wiring is like all throughout the house still.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's an interesting
Wow.
museum. The Hearthstone House in Appleton, Wisconsin. If you're ever around, it's a cool couple hours to,
Yeah. I'll be honest, like I've heard about Appleton multiple times in my life. Like I knew there was some significance. I don't know if it was this, but I'm like I feel like it's got more going for it than people realize. Um,
yeah,
but
I mean it's
it is what it is.
something.
Is
It's
it
a
close
it's
to
a
Green Bay or
it's like I think it's like an hour away
okay.
driving.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
so it's like close enough to where for the NFL draft that just happened, a lot of people were staying at hotels in Appleton.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Have you gone to any like Piggly Wigglies?
No,
Okay. I
I've
thought
been to
that was,
Woodman's though. Woodman's is cool.
oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. No, I think I've been to
How
Woodman's.
is LA, Carston
LA is
in?
it's it's good. It's good. I mean, it's weird right now because I live with friend of the pod Nick,
Hmm.
who we both went to school with. And he's not been here for a while because he's in Chicago working, which maybe says something about the current job market out here.
Yeah,
But obviously, I nothing has changed on my part. I'm, you know, doing my job and nothing's really changed. But yeah, it's crazy. It's very. I've never not been in the Midwest, so it is a bit of a big change for me. Um, and I think my like Midwestern attitude really comes out here more. Like I think it's
yeah.
obvious.
You're like you guys want a juicy Lucy
Yeah. Anybody want a hot dish? I can bring the hot dish tonight. Um,
I do
but
like the new background.
thank you. Yeah, I got I mean this guy's been around for a while. And then I got the IKEA lamp and yeah, so the fun thing about this apartment actually is apparently this room was had a huge bee problem last summer, and it was so bad that the last tenants had to break their lease and move out. So, and then I heard this news from my neighbors fairly recently, and
So
then
not
like
from the landlord.
not from the landlord, of course not. But a few days after I heard about this incident, I heard a small buzzing in that light up there, and I called the landlord. And I was like, "Can someone come check this out?" Because I heard that there was a huge problem last year, and she was like, "Yes, right away." And she had, oh my God, she had this guy come out, named Eli the bee guy. He's a fucking bee influencer. And he like goes to places and like does satisfying reveals where he opens up the wall and shows like a huge bee problem. And he walks in here and he like sees my fucking YouTube plaque and he's like, "Oh, you're a YouTuber." And he's like, "Well, I do content myself." And he showed me, he just kept scrolling. I'm like, "Do I have a bee problem, sir?" Like, and then he did his little like light the what's the scanner, the heat, the rays or whatever. Uh
I don't know.
okay.
Sorry, I can't help you on that
It's like
one.
a sensor that like you can basically see through the walls if there's bees. And he's like, "No, it's not too bad yet." And I was like, "Yet?"
Yeah,
And he's like, "It's
yeah. He's like, I don't want to film this. It's not enough
yeah,
bees yet.
yeah." He's like, "It'd be a shit video." Um, and so he was like, keep an eye on it. It might get worse in the summer. But he reassured me that like the last tenants, it was such a problem because they like didn't know about it until it was way too late. And they said like literally anytime you like opened this room, it was just like a swarm of bees. And I'm like, that's
Wait, but did he not do anything?
so he didn't do anything. He went, "It's not a
So okay,
problem."
what's the difference though between like them not knowing about it until or doing anything about it until it's too
Right.
late?
Right.
Because he still has not done anything about it early.
Exactly. Exactly. So I'm just
Just
kind
like
of
if you
like,
find out you have a disease and then you do
yep.
nothing about it.
Yeah. They
Like
were
it's not
kind
bad
of
enough yet.
they were like, "We'll give it like a month and we'll check in then." I mean,
See if the bees leave on their own.
yeah, to be fair, I haven't heard the buzzing since, and you would probably be able to see the nest out that window, but
To be fair,
to be fair, to be fair,
be
what's all the buzz about? Uh,
oh, it's like we
uh,
never
it's
left.
like it's like we never left. So anyway, that I didn't even plan to tell that little anecdote,
Do we
but
ever plan to tell any anecdotes?
no, no. But you were just like nice background. I'm like, oh yeah, this is so there's a story here to this room already.
Yeah, that's a it's
Um,
a good story.
yeah, so there's that, and then there's just like I don't know, there's a lot to get. I saw and maybe I even shouldn't be saying this, but I saw my very first cockroach like 2 weeks ago, and I panicked because I looked up, I looked up online. I do this with like any bug. I'm like
Yeah.
sighting in the house. Is it a problem? And every single post was like, if there's one, there's 100 others that you don't know about. And I was like, fuck. And they're like, you have a
What?
huge problem if you see even one cockroach. And I was like, what? But you're from Florida. Do they
Yeah,
have like,
that's not, I wouldn't say that's true at all. I mean, like, yeah, occasionally in my parents' like bottom floor where the garages are, you'd
uh,
see like some, usually you would
sometimes they
just
wander
every,
in.
yeah, like once every couple weeks, you just see a dead one, like, because they
Yeah.
always die the same way. They're all turned on their backs.
That's yes. So that's what, yeah, that's what happened when I saw this one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
It's very dramatic.
yeah. Um, so that was, and I keep a clean apartment for the record. So
Yeah.
I was
No,
like,
I think everyone's got that from this discussion.
yeah, yeah.
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 There's not a
You
bug
just got to,
problem
well, you got to,
here.
no, you just have to introduce a whatever is the predator of bees and
Right.
cockroaches.
Yeah.
So like
A
that means
cat?
you have to bring no, well, wasps kill bees, so you got to bring in
Mm.
some wasps.
Okay. Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
then for cockroaches, I don't know, what eats a cockroach? Can you Google that?
I thought let me see. I thought a cat would help with those.
A
What
cat? I
what
don't know if a cat that
toads and frogs,
okay, so there
lizards?
you go. Bring
Yeah.
in some
I gotta get a
lizards.
lizard. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um
Just have a whole terrarium in their room.
I'm like, I don't even want this thing. I need it for the cockroaches. I did see that's the other thing. I saw I don't know how long it had been there, but I saw a dead hummingbird in our little like porch stairwell. And I was like, maybe that's what's been attracting all the bugs. So there's just a bunch of shit going on over
Yeah.
here. I just um
Yeah, you're pretty busy.
yeah, I miss yeah, I'm like I never had these issues in Chicago. I actually had one ant problem briefly in Chicago, but then I moved out as it was kind of kicking off. So I was like, that's not my problem
Yeah.
anymore.
No, when it's like in the Midwest, for half the year, you never see any bugs because
Ex
it's like 0 degrees.
Yep, exactly. But here it's like now that summer's kicking in, it's like it's
Yeah.
gonna be a
Oh, Florida
bad
also,
time.
same deal. Like super
Florida,
swampy, super buggy.
yeah.
That was my life.
But anyway, I do have some questions before we get into the interview. I know everybody's probably like any Eephus heads just want to hear the interview.
Yeah.
but, but I do have some questions that I want to get through that I asked on the subreddit.
Yes.
Um, people lovely enough to I don't know how you even find this if it just shows
Do
up on
they
your
do they have
homepage.
like a notification for when that subreddit has a new post?
I guess so, yeah. This first one comes from Spooky Halloween, who I think I recognize that username, which is which food dish have you consumed most in your life? What is your favorite food dish and due to what factors?
Yeah. Well, so for you, it's a Juicy Lucy.
It's probably been like 3 times that I've had a Juicy Lucy, but I gotta get those
Did you
numbers
like
up.
it?
It is pretty good every time, yeah. Yeah.
But didn't you? Okay, this was like 2.5 years ago or something. But I
Mhm.
recall you saying the cheese is always really hot.
It's like you have to kind of cut it open first
Yeah.
to
We
let
still
it
haven't
cool
actually
down.
explained what it is.
No, yeah.
So this
It's
sounds
a
really ambiguous.
you have to cut Lucy open. It's like a patty. It's a Minnesota thing. They uh infuse or inject cheese into the patty, the beef patty.
Do you
Um
know what stage?
I know, I'm wondering, I would imagine like before cooking it. Or no, but then it would like kind of burn. I don't know how they make it
Right? Do they
actually.
do it like halfway through or
Yeah. All I know is that it's the cheese is like lava. So you have to be very careful when eating it. People burn their mouths on them all the time. It's just it's just kind of a fucked up dish, but
it's like a doctor that's like half the cases he sees. Another Juicy Lucy incident.
yeah. My answer honestly is probably toast.
Oh, you do love toast. You
I
made
have
that
toast damn near every
animation about
day.
toast.
Yeah, I have it every day. It's easy to make. I
Mhm.
love it. I think it tastes really good. Um,
How
yeah,
toasted does it have to be before you consider it toast?
it's gotta be. I mean, my preference is pretty toasted. I like it like pretty
Like
rough.
every part of it has to crunch?
Yeah. Yeah, I hate there's nothing actually worse than like warm bread. I'm like that's not toast. It needs to have the brown crisp, you know.
I,
Even if
I
there's
mean,
just a
I
little
think,
bit, it's that's toast.
okay, I just want to push back against one thing you said. You said there's nothing worse than warm bread. Cold bread is worse than warm bread.
That is that well, no, on like a deli sandwich, cold bread could be pretty good. Like a cold
Okay, that's true, but like on its
but
own, right?
yeah, though cold bread by
Like
itself
you
is
just get some butter with warm bread. That stuff's good.
yeah, that's actually you're very right. Yeah. Like at a
Okay,
restaurant. Yeah. A warm
I will actually answer this question. It definitely has to be something from Panda Express.
Yeah, when's the last time you went to Panda?
Well, I don't have a car here, so I just need to convince people to drive me every now and then to Panda
Damn.
Express. Because my car, I probably told you about my car, about in the
Oh,
hurricane in Florida, it was completely submerged.
yes. I saw the
Yeah,
picture. It
yeah.
was
It was moved by the water. It was not where I parked it.
oh my God.
It would have
That's
moved further, but it hit like a pillar on the end of my parents' like portico.
yeah, that's terrible, man.
Is it what? I've never used the word portico before.
No. Yeah,
Is
I
that a
was
real
like
word?
I just kind of went along with it, but I'm not about to fact check because
Yeah, that's
Portico,
fine. Portico.
Portico. Yeah. Portic you know what? I actually don't know if
Okay, I'm gonna Google it now.
I don't know if that's a thing. Oh, I searched Portico. Oops, that might be why. Yeah, Portico.
Portico
Never mind.
definition.
Portico is a thing. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't know, it's right.
Portico is not a thing.
No, Portico, but Potawatomi is the casino in Milwaukee.
Right. I actually know. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Um,
But that answers that question.
yep. Uh, this other question, from Levin. Question for
Ooh,
Jeff. What was your favorite country you visited during your big European tour last year?
yeah. So when I was going through Europe last kind of like fall-ish,
Uh-huh.
I did meet Levin in when I went to the
Oh,
Netherlands.
oh, that's right. I remember this. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I did like the Netherlands. I would not say it was my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
I like Berlin a lot, so maybe Germany. 'Cause this was mainly just like a Western Europe
Yeah,
tour.
yeah.
So it's like Netherlands, Belgium, France, Switzerland, Germany.
Damn.
Um, yeah, so I would
Did,
say probably Germany because of
okay.
Berlin's really cool.
Yeah. Um, this one comes from Roller Skate Butterfly. Wait, what? Also, what is the movie that well, we already kind of answered what have you guys been up to since the last time you recorded? Sort of. But
Yeah,
did
just
they
edit this so you throw that whole
yeah.
other section after
Yeah.
they hit that question.
But they also ask, also, what is the movie that came out since the last time you recorded that you most wanted to do a Karstcast episode about?
Oh,
Man,
that's a good question.
there have been like multiple movies where I'm like, that was such a Karstcast
Yeah.
movie. Oh
Yeah,
man.
I mean, I know the Minecraft movie would have
That would have
been
been great.
something like that. That's like too on the nose because it's like
Yeah.
just a ridiculous concept.
Yeah.
Um, hmm. What
I
you think of an answer?
I will say like thinking about this, like it has been a while since we've recorded, but also it hasn't been that long when I
It's
break
been
it
like a year
down.
and a half,
It has been a year and a half, but I'm also like, I guess we did talk about the Super
and
Mario
that's a
Brothers
long time
movie.
in dog years.
It is a long time in dog years.
How
What
does dog
is
years work again? Is it like 14 for the first year and then seven every year after that?
uh I don't know actually. I I'm just looking through my letterbox right now. Um Damn. Oh my God. You know what would have been such a good Cast movie is Better Man. It's that Robbie Williams biopic about but
Oh,
he's a
yeah. I never
monkey.
saw it, but that would have been,
That's
yes.
like such a Cast movie
Yes.
because it's like British pop star
Yeah.
CGI
I,
monkey. Like
yeah. I also think Lance Oppenheim's Ren Fair.
yes, yeah. That or Sperm World, either of the two projects
Yes.
of
Yeah.
his. He's got a narrative feature coming out, I
Yeah.
think.
Did you hear
A24.
that?
Yeah, what is that?
I think they're doing construction outside of my house.
It wasn't too loud, so I think we're fine.
It's
Uh
gonna keep happening. Luckily, we're almost done.
yeah, yeah. So I don't mean to drag this on. I'm just looking through more
Yes.
uh
I should
r
Google what films have come out.
Red One would have been a great Cast movie. Um that's the one where The Rock needs to rescue J.K. Simmons who plays Santa Claus. Um
Oh, right.
it
Yeah.
was
I didn't
it was
see that.
horrible, but it would have been a fun
Uh,
one. I I mean, Eephus is a good one. That would have been a good
it is a good
segue
one because
into
it's
the
like
set.
I have a lot of random sports knowledge that,
Yeah.
you know,
No, that's Eephus is a genuinely great. We're not gonna really review the film on the podcast if you can't tell by now, but we are talking to the director. Um, but
it's true.
I'm gonna do like okay, we have like two more questions. Uh, we'll go through them fast. This one comes from Brick Blue Ben, and this is definitely targeted to you, Jeff, because I have close to
Oh,
no thoughts on this.
I'm
But
ready.
it is thoughts on the Oasis reunion.
Oh, okay. So
Get into it.
when tickets went on sale,
Uh-huh.
I was in Bruges in
You were
Belgium.
in Bruges. That's
I was in Bruges,
yeah.
like the film.
Like the film, yeah.
Uh, and it was me and all these English people on our phones trying to get tickets because when they were released, it was impossible. None of us could get tickets.
Oh
The
my
only ticket
God.
I could get in my shopping cart was $650.
Oh my God.
Which I obviously did not purchase.
Yeah.
And then I tried to get the tickets for the US part of the tour that came out later. I could not get those either.
Yeah.
So it'll probably be cool. I won't be there.
Damn, that's crazy. I
But
do
I did see
remember
the tallest man on earth in Milwaukee last weekend.
how was it?
Really good. Tallest man on earth is great live.
Damn. Damn. Well, we have one more question, and it's from Dead Zephrilly. And it's I vaguely remember this question being asked before, but now that it's been a while, and you guys possibly would have had more experience, what advice do you have for independent filmmakers? I mean,
My hat kind of looks like a triangle from this
it
angle.
does. It really, once you like notice it, it's like,
Yeah,
damn. Yeah, it actually really does.
it's crazy.
Uh,
It's
I
not a triangle. Now it is.
I would
Oh, sorry.
say
Back to the question.
I would say I don't know, man. I I don't have a you
So I have not done any filmmaking since we stopped doing the podcast.
hmm
Uh, but I do now currently work at a film school.
right. Yeah, yeah,
Uh, but they do like actual film mostly.
yeah.
So it's just me like cutting analog film together and then like running it through a
That's
scanner.
that's really cool actually. We didn't really get into it. That's really
Yeah.
sick.
So
You
that's interesting. But my advice would be uh just make write a script. Wait, what was the question?
if you have any advice for independent filmmakers, um
Yes,
I-
get friends who will work for free just for like food.
yes, yeah, build good relationships is always my
Yeah,
advice.
because um Karsten has the ability to raise money much easier than most people
This is true.
because he is very famous. I'm not sure if people listening to this podcast are aware just how famous Karsten is.
I'm not that
Karsten
famous.
gets recognized everywhere he goes.
It's not true. This is not true.
That's why he has to use that fake name.
Yes, yeah, that's why I gotta wear the hat and sunglasses everywhere I
Yeah.
go. And
But no, yeah. So because of that, it's like you got to just have costs as low as you can make them.
yeah. Yeah, I would honestly say um just mess around with some really like low budget ideas, like two people in a room
Yes.
type thing.
Yes,
Like, and that's
that's
why
great
people say
advice.
that like it's important to, if you're like interested in film, like some of the time it's important to like, I don't know what I don't know how practical advice this is, but like to watch more theater, I guess. I can't speak. I don't do any of that. So, but I'm like, if you want to do something
My
like,
advice as a filmmaker is do something I don't do.
yeah, it honestly
Maybe
is
it'll
is
work. Who
pretty good
knows?
advice, is to watch more theater. We could all be
Uh,
doing more of that. I just
yeah.
watched
Uh,
My Dinner with Andre. Have you ever seen it?
no.
It's ridiculous. It's literally just a guy having dinner, and it's like I watched it in a theater, and I just like had to like look at the room at a point and just be like, it's just a group of people watching two guys have dinner for 2 hours, which is, but it was really good. I mean, it's great.
Yeah.
That's maybe why this was on the mind, but yeah.
So my last piece of advice would be pay special attention to sound
Yes,
because
that's
that
better
is like,
advice.
yeah, that is the most important thing that will make your,
Yeah,
project watchable or unwatchable.
yeah,
And not just getting clean audio of dialogue, also sound design.
yeah, yeah.
Like in Carson, in your film with the dirt, you had some really good dirt sounds.
Well, I was gonna say that was a huge issue. Is like I didn't realize until we went into post that he fucking was like crinkling the plastic bag the whole time, and I was listening back and I was like, oh my God, this is horrendous. But we it managed to like work around it. But even in this new, even when you like could be, that's the other thing is like, especially with an independent film, you could be as prepared as possible, and you just have to expect that some shit is gonna go wrong every single time, and that even
That
happened
is
with my new
true.
film. Um, but that's you just got to be good at adapting. Like, yeah. Anyway,
All right. I think that was good
I
advice.
think that was,
We
yeah, that
got
was
there.
pretty
It
good.
was like an advice episode.
Exactly, exactly. I say we get into this interview, um, because we didn't really like talk about it during the interview. Wait, what were you gonna say? You look like you were gonna
Oh,
say
I was
something.
gonna say, yeah, like we already recorded the interview.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was just gonna say, we're talking to Carson Lund, who directed Eephus, and Eephus, if you didn't know, is a film. Actually, I'll read the Google. We'll bring
Yes.
it back. We'll bring it back. Oh my God, they're still showing it in LA today, actually. Uh,
Oh, you could go see it.
I could go see it again. A group of middle-aged men play their last recreational baseball game before their field gets torn down to build a school. It is a very charming, very warm little movie. Very cozy watch that is both a great baseball film and also just a great film for anyone who likes movies about little communities of people. Um, it's got Frederick Wiseman in it, which is some people might go crazy for that. Uh, it's also got Keith William Richards from Uncut Gems. So yeah, it's a really it's a very funny, very heartwarming
Yeah.
and kind of sad movie that
Speaking of uncut gems, sorry, I'm totally interrupting
no,
the end of
no.
your flow. Did you see the new trailer for
Oh,
the Safdie Brothers rock movie?
yes, I did. It looks so good. He doesn't even look like
Right?
himself. Like he looks
Yeah.
weird. Um yeah, that's a damn good
And
trailer. I can't wait.
yeah, I mean that was I totally ruined like you were about to like wrap it up in a nice bow.
No, no, no.
Man, I'm
I
out of
actually
practice.
I didn't have a way to wrap it up. So anyway, you should check
Anyways,
out
here's the interview.
Eephus. And here's the interview. Great. Well, Carson, thank you so much for making the time. Thanks for being here. I feel like we're catching you at like the tail end of the press run, to be honest. But so we appreciate you
All
making the
good.
time.
All good. Baseball season is long, so
Exactly,
never
exactly.
ending.
I didn't get to catch Eephus at Music Box during this run, but I did I saw it was part of this like baseball series they were doing, so good
Yeah, which
time to
that's where I saw it.
right, yeah.
And then I met Carson. Then we went to or Small Cheval, and then it was not that good. I don't know. That's just
The
my
burger.
interpretation. How did you feel?
It was not as good as I expected it to be. It was a solid burger, but I'd heard a lot about Au Cheval, and it
Yeah.
didn't live up to those expectations.
No, yeah.
Is
Are you?
is this going to go on? Is this going to go public?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm assuming
Honestly,
the music box isn't affiliated in any way.
no, no. I will say Au Cheval way better than Small Cheval. They cut a lot of corners over at Small
Yeah,
Cheval,
that
but
was my sense. That was definitely
yeah,
my sense. It's like watered down.
right, right.
Yeah.
Um, well, thank you for being here. I wanted to ask right off the bat, just like how you feel now that the film is out there. I believe it's on digital now, right? Um, like out in the world. Um,
Yeah, it's on VOD,
mhm.
all the major platforms, Apple, Amazon, Fandango, you name it.
Yeah.
Wait, Fandango has a streaming service?
Uh, it's apparently it's like a pay-per-view kind of thing. So I don't know
Okay.
if
Right.
that qualifies as a streaming service. Um, but yeah, it's finally available to all in America if they can pony up the $5 or whatever it costs.
Yeah.
Of
Carson,
course
oh, sorry.
of course
Carson,
I'm
did you say where you saw it?
I caught it at
Carson?
Chicago International Film
Oh,
Festival, which
okay.
was
Yep.
it was like a
When was
matinee
that?
screening, which I thought was, perfect for the
Yep.
vibe of this movie. It was a great like early afternoon movie. Um, but
I think the
yeah,
best time to watch it would be shortly before sunset, so that you go in daylight, you leave and it's dark.
that is very true. Yeah.
Yep. The names are going to be difficult for me over
Yeah.
audio.
Yeah, Karsten.
Yeah, I got
Um,
confused there for a moment.
yeah, yeah. Um, I wanted to ask, I was at Cannes last year where it premiered. I didn't get a chance to catch it. I did catch Christmas Eve in Miller's Point, which I know is also Omnis. Um, and I thought it was I wanted to get your take on this. I haven't really we're not going to talk about Christmas Eve obviously, but like I thought it was really interesting watching a movie that American, like that niche about a very specific part of America, I would say. And I think Eephus kind of captures another niche type of American as well. I'm like, how did you feel like a weird energy at all premiering it in France? Like, did you think like the Europeans would like understand the film, or is it like a universal feeling that comes across?
Yeah, I generally believe a good rule of thumb with art is that the more specific you get, the more universal it can become. Sort
Right.
of a cliche, but I think it's true.
Hmm.
And so I never wanted to sacrifice the specificity of this film and the world that I wanted to depict. I wanted it to be extremely, extremely regional about the kind of people that I know and have experienced throughout my life. And, you just have to make the most honest film you can and then hope that it spreads out as wide as it can go. But I also, in the back of my mind, I certainly knew that the kind of film I was making, at least in terms of its aesthetics and form and storytelling style,
Hmm.
was certainly more in line with kind of like European art house and even certain Asian films that I really am drawn to. Like I've said that Eephus is sort of like a goodbye Dragon Inn, but for a baseball field. Size being one of my favorite filmmakers of all. So I kind of knew that I was that the form the film would take would actually appeal to viewers in other countries. So it was sort of an interesting test to see, okay, if they're attracted to the form this film takes, will they be put off by the subject matter? Will they not connect with it on that level? But the way I see it is like it's not like when you go watch a sci-fi movie, you understand all the lingo,
Right.
or
Right.
when you watch a period piece, you understand how society operated in whatever era is being depicted. As a viewer, when you watch a film, you're willingly submitting to a different milieu than your
Hmm.
own. So I
Hmm.
didn't see it as a major um, obstacle, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you
It
think
was
that it
still
was
fun. Yeah.
interpreted differently by European audiences in like any capacity?
I would say that they just they gravitated towards what is universal about it, which is that
Hmm.
it's a
Mm.
movie about community and the importance of that as you age, and about time passing and about mortality, and and almost the the baseball was just sort of like window dressing. I think that if you understand baseball deeply and its lore and its rhythms, you probably will get more out of this film,
Hmm.
or you'll see different things in it.
Yeah.
And I don't think that many Europeans saw those same qualities, and they
Mm.
certainly didn't catch all the in jokes. I think that's okay. Again, I don't understand everything about every movie I see.
Right.
You just
Yeah.
want to feel like you're submitting to a perspective on the world that is not your own and that you're
Yeah.
intrigued by.
It is really interesting how American, or I guess really even not even American, but baseball fans understand the specific types of people in the film, like the old guy who manually hand scores the game.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly. I mean, that's the kind of character that people here in the States have really connected to. They're like, "Oh, I know a guy like that that's in my town that goes to every game." And or sometimes I get someone who says, "Oh, I actually was that person.
Right.
I keep score at all my at all the local games." So, yeah, and just scorekeeping in general, the idea of keeping track and these sort of like trivial statistics around the game. That's a huge culture here in America that it just kind of flew by. I think
Yeah.
people outside this country, that I think that is really germane to American baseball. The idea of keeping records of all of this stuff, keeping stacks and stacks of books and
Yeah.
score sheets, and it's sort of like meaningless, but for this character in the film, it's like a record of his experience. It's a record of history, and it's very meaningful to him. And I think the movie's really about like people who, it doesn't matter if you as a viewer take the same meaning out of those same events, but it's like the fact that you're taking meaning out of something at all, I think that's what makes us human.
Right. Yeah. I want to ask a bit of a technical question about this. I just, not to make it about myself, but I just shot a short film and it was in the desert and we were very like hyper aware of the light and the timing of like trying to get the right lighting. And this movie, like, there's so much different coverage of each position on the field, and lighting is obviously such a huge part of the story. Um, like I'm just very curious about the shooting schedule for something like this. If you had to go like one position a day, or like you didn't try to like cover an entire scene in one day, I'd imagine, because by the time you get to like a certain position, I would imagine the light would change.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
I'm just curious, like what the flow of shot listing was like for something like this.
Extremely elaborate, detailed, and painstaking.
Yeah.
We had to take note of. Well, I spent a lot of time at that field ahead of shooting and observing kind of how the light would fall across that specific field and when it would go behind the trees and when would it emerge from behind the trees, and we had these sort of windows of time where we could achieve certain scenes based on what inning they were depicting. And sometimes we would try to shoot something, and then maybe if it was one of the more elaborate pieces of athletic performance, we wouldn't get it, and we'd have
Hmm.
to actually move on. We couldn't just keep shooting because the sun had moved, and we had to move on to the next scene. So there were times where that happened, but I had spent a lot of time at the field shooting photographs. I kind of was like envisioning the whole film in my head, out there alone on the field, taking photographs of all these different angles around the field, and that was sort of what we used as kind of like the basis for our storyboards, and then our shot list and our schedule. Um, Myself, the DP Greg Tango, and my co-writer Mike Basta just poured over those images and figured out where the camera what was the most effective way to move the camera around throughout the day. The fewer
Right.
setup, fewer
Mhm.
moves across the field, the better.
Yeah.
Um,
Did the weather cooperate?
no, no, actually, yeah, that was crazy. We did a ton of well, we did some research, not a ton of research, but because ultimately it's not that accurate, but like sort of like research into the weather in this town over the past 20, 30 years. And generally on average, we would find like, okay, like 6 days of rain in October. And this was, we didn't know what we would get this time because we were coming out of a drought that summer in New England. There wasn't a lot of rain. So we're like, we either are going to get a ton of rain or the drought will continue. And we got a ton of rain. It all poured down in October. So I think we got 12 or 13 days. Almost half the month was rainy. So at a certain when that started happening, we would cancel shoot days, postpone shoot days. But eventually, we had to just make do with what we had. Where if it rained for 3/4 of the day, we had to use that 1/4 that was sunny, and
Right.
shoot a few scenes. And fortunately, I had a lot of my cast very close to the field, living
Yeah.
together, and the crew was nearby. So we were able to be flexible.
Wow.
We also had to like employ everyone as sort of like groundskeepers to
Right.
break the dirt and shovel the puddles.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, because it's a lot of work to like in real life even they have the grounds crew whenever it's raining to like get the field to not be wet.
Yeah, exactly. You can't have puddles playing baseball. You're gonna slip around, and also it would have just not been continuous
Yeah.
film if there was suddenly a puddle there. So, but the difficulty for us was it's actually much easier to sweep a field and make it look like fresh, like no one has used it,
Hmm.
um, than it is to sweep the field and then run around on it so it looks like it's been used for four, five,
So do you
six.
just have a bunch of crew members running around the bases?
Basically, yeah. We're trying to like clomp around to create the cleat marks that had been there the inning prior. So everyone had to kind of step up and be a part of the production design crew at times based on those weather conditions.
So
And
did
Yeah.
you have people wear cleats that were
yeah,
part of the crew? Yeah.
well, yeah. Sometimes we have to put on cleats for that purpose. I mean, the actors were always wearing cleats because they make a very different sound, and you move very differently in cleats than you do in sneakers. Um, there were some cast members had to wear sneakers because we couldn't find enough cleats that were the right size that looked right. So, but generally people were in cleats the whole time, which can be tiring for the feet for sure.
Definitely. But, sort of on this topic, there's a review that I saw on Letterboxd from Eddie, who I believe worked on the film.
Yeah,
That read, this production didn't feel like we were in 2022. It didn't feel like the period of the film either. It felt like baseball, timeless. Whether it's a 3 hour, 9 inning game or a 12-hour shoot day, time didn't really matter. Cinema and sports are two of the very few things in this life that are able to transcend time, which I thought was really interesting. I mean, it's great to hear like what the sort of what the energy was like on set. I was wondering if you could maybe elaborate on that, if you
yeah,
agree from the role of the director, like if you got a same, if that was like something you were after while shooting it.
yeah. That feeling of being suspended in time for sure. I mean, we were there on one location for an entire month, and anytime
Hmm.
we weren't shooting, we were playing catch or
Yeah.
uh, I was throwing batting practices. It was like we were all like tapping into childhood memories. I
Yeah.
made sure that almost anyone who was in the film had played baseball at some point. A lot of the crew members had played baseball as well. I mean, so many Americans just played baseball as a kid. So I think we were all tapping into that, and that the film is about characters who are trying to remain in childhood forever.
Right.
And I think a baseball field offers that kind of thing. And
Hmm.
Right.
it is a game that it just by its very nature and by its rules it could go on forever because as long as there's a tie, it can just keep
Yeah.
going. It doesn't have a
Yeah.
Except
clock.
for the stupid new rules in major leagues where they put a guy on second.
Yeah, that drives me nuts. I mean, Rob Manfred uh, is not a fan of the qualities of the sport that the film exudes.
Yeah.
Right.
The kind of slowness and the poeticism of it.
Yeah, and then the pitch clock
He's
would
actively in competition with those elements, which is a shame. But I think it speaks to the transitional period that baseball is in. It's in a sort of crisis mode, and I think yes, on set we're trying to cultivate this like feeling of being outside of the chaos of life and just sort of like to create this like cocoon of comfort and fun and play. Um, that was all part of the that was all part of the production. I totally agree with what Eddie said there, but I also think it's like that's what baseball can offer to people who just willingly give themselves over to it. If you're a spectator of a baseball game, you go there to escape
Hmm.
Yeah.
whatever is going on in your life. I mean, it's when you're in that stadium, when you're staring at that field, you are it's an escape. And I mean, it's telling that the game had much of its origin in a city like New York. It's like this pastoral escape within an urban expanse.
Yeah.
So I think no, Eddie's absolutely right. He was the set designer on the film, and uh, he'll tell you a lot about the groundskeeping. I mean, he was sort of the head groundskeeper, I would say. But yeah, I mean, it was the most fun I've ever had on a set for sure.
Yeah. I also think like you brought up Goodbye Dragon Inn. I feel like the film is in that same category of film. We actually also talked about this documentary a few years ago called Bloody Nose, Empty Pockets, which is
Yeah.
about, yeah, the last night of this bar. I feel like this film kind of belongs in that camp of like, I don't know, celebrating like physical spaces, which I
Mhm.
think hits extra hard these days.
Yes.
I think it's like such a, I don't know, in such a digital age, it's kind of pure and nice and refreshing to see something like this that can really
Yeah.
just exist
And
in that
also
space.
just with, yeah, like globalization and so many businesses that were like hangout spots, like video stores just don't exist anymore.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, that was how I discovered cinema in the way that I did was through video stores and eventually through my local library where I actually worked and maintained like a staff pick shelf for a while. Being able to actually see all the films and touch them and read about them right there. I mean that stimulates the curiosity in the way that in a way that a streaming platform just doesn't.
Yeah.
An algorithmically generated
Yeah.
recommendations. They don't do the same thing, and I think that accounts for a lot of the loss of curiosity that exists today, or there is curiosity and it's not being met, it's not being
Yes.
satiated, and that to me is a even bigger tragedy. But yeah, I mean, you bring up Bloody Nose Empty Pocket. It's a movie I really did love actually, and was certainly influential when I was thinking about Eephus. That movie is also very, I think, indebted to Last Night at the Alamo by Eagle Pennell, which is a film from the '70s about the closing of a bar. It's fiction. I mean, so is Bloody Nose Empty
Right.
Pockets in its way. But we had an idea at one point um, to shoot Eephus in a similar way to Bloody Nose Empty Pockets. We had a little bit more to do with when we weren't sure we'd raise the money we needed, and a cheaper option would have been to you know actually just play a game for like play a game every day for a week and shoot it with multiple cameras
Yeah.
and then put it all together more like a documentary, but a very constructed documentary. Ultimately, we went with the scripted version because we found the money we needed. But it was very instructive to think about what the Ross brothers did with that film when I was trying to construct this one.
Yeah. I would imagine that would like picturing that in my head, it's very kind of rough around the edges and would have been a lot more handheld. This is like I
Mm.
just thought of this, like I feel like this is a very static movie, for the most part. I was wondering if that was an intentional choice, like what the thought process was there. Because in my head, when I like think of the movie, I just think of like a lot of really static
Yeah,
wides, and I think that's like a really interesting look specifically for a sports movie, which is typically like the crazy shaky camera and
or a
um,
lot of cutting, a lot of montage.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, especially with bits of action, it's always like cutting it up. I really wanted to make sure we maintained that the the master shot approach because I think
right,
so much of being a spectator of baseball and someone who loves baseball is like you're impressed by how far people are away from each other and how fast the ball can move, and you
Yeah.
maybe don't get a sense of that when there's too much cutting going on. Even in a broadcast you don't really feel that. So when
Right.
you're
Yeah. No, whenever you're at a game, yeah, you just notice how far apart the outfielders are.
Yeah, exactly. It's a very large space, and most of the time you're alone with your thoughts and you're in anticipation. So it's both like a very cerebral and introspective game, and then one that's also very social. But to your point about static camera and the use of wide angles, and also the cinemascope frame was. I originally had thought of this movie almost like there was actually a third version of this movie where if we had even less money, it would have been truly like a landscape film in which the action would have been even more kind of in the background and just a way to document kind of like a space,
Hmm.
like this land that they play on, and have the game just be kind of like a. It was certainly more conceptual and experimental,
Hmm.
but
I feel like that'd be more Tsai Ming Lang
yeah,
than yeah.
exactly. And we kind of get there by the end of the film, but I never lost the idea of like this film being about this landscape. It's really like a landscape film. Like what will outlast these characters is this land, and it'll even
Hmm.
outlast the school, and ultimately the school is being built on this land, which has history, which has um, that precedes the baseball players. So I thought of it as like, okay, that was the umbrella. Like there's always this land, and the baseball game is just something that's passing through it. And I was also thinking a lot about that same idea. I think is rooted in a lot of westerns that I love, like John Ford films. He uses a lot of this idea of the landscape as being this mythic thing that the cowboys are just moving through.
Yeah, man.
So I thought of this film kind of as a western. There are two sides, opposing sides that aren't really ultimately opposing each other. They're both united in the same struggle, and there's the law, there are the umpires,
Hmm.
and we have all these kind of like standoffs between the teams. So I was thinking about these CinemaScope westerns that I love from the 50s that take a very similar strategy visually, which is not a sports film reference. It's a totally different
Yeah.
genre.
I
Yeah.
I just watched Wagon Master, which I feel like I'm currently feeling like I don't know, there's a lot of connections there of like
Mhm.
this kind of collective film. There's not really a main character, and
Yeah.
I mean it's exactly what you just described. Yeah. I would never have thought of that.
Yeah. And it's
But
It's
also like
you
the
know,
CinemaScope was rooted in the idea of the dugout. You can't
yeah,
very long dugout, and you can't frame all those people together unless you use that format, I think.
right. I want to ask you a little bit about Omnis. Am I pronouncing it right, by the way? Is it Omnis or
Omnes
Omnis?
films. Yeah, Omnes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, I love the work that's coming out of what you guys are doing. I mean, I really love this, obviously, and Christmas Eve. Um, I believe the mission statement is to provide something refreshing to the film world. I apologize if I'm misquoting. But in your own words, could you describe what you feel the film world is missing that Omnis is bringing to the table? Like, because I agree. I think it's very refreshing, especially again at Cannes. It just felt like Christmas Eve in a similar way to Eephus was just like a very refreshing
Mm.
thing to see in the midst of like everything else I was seeing at the festival. So I'm curious in your own words, like what you guys,
right.
yeah,
Yeah, art
Yeah.
house, sports, western. I mean, that's what we're missing.
Um, yeah, I mean, Omnes is like it's what's important to note is it's not a company. It's like an informal collective, but
hmm
we're all very, very close friends, and we love working with each other and realizing each other's projects. And every project we've made is something that we've found has been difficult to pitch in a kind of commercial sense, like taking it to industry executives. Some of these films wouldn't have been possible. They're sometimes difficult to categorize. They straddle genres, and I also think there's a sincerity and a very direct emotional quality that I think is sometimes missing. There's a lot of cynicism in the contemporary film landscape, and there's also a lot of you know retrograde ideas about how to structure a narrative, and it always has to kind of be based on a single protagonist under dealing with some transformation, and we're kind of like not always very interested in that. Um, I just think for me, it's about trying to make films that are. I think art is about like trying to express something that's hard to express in words, unless it's literature, of course. But yeah, and I think like the films we're making, I think the industry is so built around concise pitches and appealing to sort of genre hallmarks, and we sometimes have difficulty fitting into those holes. So I
Mhm.
think there's a lack of films that feel really fresh and true and honest,
Yeah.
because I think they're very much trying to fit within a marketplace.
Yeah, that's what I
So,
really
yeah,
enjoy is that your film doesn't at any point tell the audience how to feel.
yeah, yeah. And it also doesn't provide the pleasures of narrative that you come to expect. It maybe pulls you in with this with the energy or the atmosphere or the subject matter which may be familiar to you, but then it takes you somewhere different, and it kind of offers a rebuke to what you expect about maybe where this group of guys will go, or how they'll react to these circumstances. It's what I'm interested in doing is maybe like I wouldn't call it a bait and switch. I mean, we've said that about this film, and also even about like Ham on Rye, another work that I shot. It's Tyler's first
Mhm.
film, and I think that's a cynical way to put it. I don't think I think we're reeling you in with something familiar, and trying to take you somewhere that's richer and more complex and stranger. And I don't think that's a switch. That's just that's the journey of art. Like it's
Right.
being taken somewhere unfamiliar. Um, so I think, yeah, I mean, this is that we've produced 7 films under this moniker. They're always made with love and very close friends, and people switch roles and play different roles on different projects. And they just come, I think they feel very much like they're always originating from one or two creators' brains. It's not like we'd
Mhm.
make them by committee. And I think a lot of films also are made maybe written by one writer, and then there's a room of creatives that all kind of like massage it. And I
Right.
think
Hmm.
we want to honor the kind of like the specificity and peculiarity of like an individual voice, and I think that's true of every film we've made. um so yeah, I think that's kind of the benchmark. There's no like specific goals in terms of the genre of film or the length of the film or the kind of
Right.
person who makes it. It's just about like, is there a very true and specific vision that the
Mhm.
filmmaker.
Nice. Yeah. I was wondering if you could talk a bit about your transition from DP to director. Like, if there's any, I guess, strengths that you were able to bring to the role of director that you learned from being a DP, um,
Yeah,
or what your directing experience was like before making this
yeah,
film, if it was, you know, where it was at.
yeah, for sure. I mean, I've kind of, to be honest, I never even saw much of a hierarchy to
Hmm.
filmmaking it, or I didn't really separate the different roles, especially throughout. I started making films a long time ago, but like in high school and even college, It was always important to me to direct, shoot, and edit all at once. It was like and it wasn't just me. Maybe it was my co-creator or something. We were all kind of like, there was a very fluid process of making the film,
Hmm.
and it was more just about like trying to be an author of it and really have my perspective stamped onto it. So anytime I've made films in the past, like I would be talking to the actors and holding the camera, so I kind of see the two as very interrelated, and starting to be a DP on features was very natural to me because I have a very visual brain. It's how I'm that's my way into filmmaking, is kind of first through kind of the image.
Hmm.
And I got very, very interested in lighting in college, and proficient at it. And so I naturally kind of went that direction. But the way I interact, like with Tyler, for instance, is I'm very involved at an early stage once the script is done, talking through the visual language of the film and how the camera is going to move or not move. And even how the edit is going to be at the end. So it's I mean, every role needs to understand the other role. It's
Right.
all in conversation. So, if anything, I think maybe working with Tyler specifically, he's someone who works with very large ensembles. So I was able to kind of observe how he managed that and the kind of energy he cultivated on set and how he was a leader.
Hmm.
And that helped inform what I did on Eephus, but it wasn't like it was my first rodeo with actors. So
Right.
so I wouldn't say it was a massive leap by any means. It's a different level of emotional pressure
Right.
and stress, and everything's resting on you to deliver. Which is a little different when you're working as a DP. But this was not a big leap for me. I'd always been planning to direct a feature. It's just a matter of time, and glad it was this one because it's
Yeah,
very cool.
definitely. I want to kind of start to wrap things up with a bit of a sillier I don't know, silly, but um
I'm okay with silly. Let's
I
go.
wanted to hear maybe like I would say baseball is like the most cinematic sport. I know we're all biased here,
Hmm.
but I was wondering if what other sports you think would make for really great films, or that you would consider equally as cinematic, if there are any.
I think that everything. This maybe sounds like a hacky answer, or a way of escaping the question, but I think everything is equally cinematic
Hmm.
potentially if you have the
Yeah.
right approach or the right vision. Um, there's no subject that is uncinematic, I think.
What about short track speed skating?
Let's go. Let's do it. Why do you have a script? Do you have an idea?
No, but
I
you,
mean,
I,
if you're really interested in short track speed skating, I don't even know
what
what
it's
that
the
is.
one that like Apollo Antonano did, where they just go in
Oh
really
yeah,
small
yeah.
circles
If you're
over and
really
over
into
again.
that and you understand that world, you should make a film about it. Not just you, but the whoever in the audience maybe.
Yeah, I certainly don't understand that world.
Um, yeah. So I don't know. It's a good question, but that's kind of my honest answer. I feel like anything can be of interest if it's approached with honesty and complexity and care. I would just say personally, I would, I'm writing something set in the world of candlepin bowling. So
Mm.
I'm interested in that. With bowling is a sport that shares a lot, shares some things with baseball in terms of all the time that's spent socializing. Um, but and I'm also interested in maybe eventually making something about demolition derby, which I guess is a sport. But no, I don't know. There's
What's your best bowling score
in which
in
form of
any format?
well, those are 10
Is
pin.
Candlepin harder?
Yeah, to get a high score, yeah, definitely harder. Smaller ball, smaller pins. No one's ever bowled a 300 in candlepin.
Oh wow.
Uh, 10 pin, I've probably got to like 180s or something.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Candlepin, I've been 110s. That's as high as I've gotten.
Yeah, I was in a bowling league last year in Milwaukee, and I was by a wide margin the worst bowler in the league.
You
Mm.
needed the
I
borders
averaged a
or the
94.
You needed the bumpers.
yeah.
No, I didn't have the bumpers. That would have been. I don't
Life
even
doesn't
think
give
you
you
could
bumpers.
bowl as low as a 94 without with bumpers.
That's a great line from Boyhood. Ethan Hawke says, "Life doesn't give you bumpers." I always quote it.
Damn.
Okay, I do have one last thing that I want to say because I told you this in person, just to get it on the record. Eephus is an incredible title.
Oh yeah, you did mention that. Thank you. And many people told us to change the title, um, because it's inexplicable to people or it's not commercial and
Yeah, and also it's so
raise,
specific.
I love
raise
it.
questions. Yeah,
It's got real
I love
shape
it.
to it, you know.
Yeah, it's got a shit. It looks good. It looks good.
Yeah, yeah.
Poster and it sounds like a comedy because it's a funny word.
Hmm.
Um, and I think the act of questioning it and then looking into it and learning what it means is the same curiosity that drives the film. So I couldn't. We thought of a bunch of different titles in the lead up to Cannes when we were presented with this opinion that we should change it, and none of the titles were hitting us hard. So
Yeah.
Do you have any ones you remember?
yeah, like Pastime. Just
Yeah. It's not Eephus.
double entendre. There were a few others. I can't. Hot dog or something. I think a hot dog. Yeah. No, nothing was as good as Eephus, and we had I've always actually struggled with titles. I've been a musician for a long time as well, and I've always struggled with titles for song names or album names, and then with film titles as well. But this is one where we knew it right away. Not right when we started writing the script, but the minute we came up with that scene, which was like a quarter of the way, third of the way through the writing process, we were like, that okay, that's the title.
Yeah.
I think it was Nate Fisher's idea, one of the other co-writers. The guy who actually describes the Eephus in the film. He was the one who came up with the film.
Okay.
The title. So
nice. I also feel like we have to shout out. We've had Taylor J. Williams on the pod, I think twice, who I believe worked on this film.
Yes, he did.
He did. Yeah.
He was on the camera team, and
Nice.
I've worked with him since. He was actually when I shot Christmas Eve in Miller's Point. He was my second AC.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. He did work on that. Yeah. Yeah. Shout out to Taylor.
Love Taylor. Shout out.
Well, Carson, thank you so much for being on. We really appreciate it, and I think I speak for Jeff when I say we can't recommend this film enough. It's really fantastic, and yeah. If you have any closing thoughts, anything you want to say, anything you want to shout out,
anything you want to promote?
Yeah.
Well, the film is available to stream on various VOD platforms. We're hoping eventually we'll have a streaming deal, but we're also hoping to take it out for some more theatrical bookings later this summer. I mean, as long as baseball's happening, I think this film is worth seeing.
It was so fun seeing in the music box with the organist.
Yeah, that was amazing. That was incredible.
Is organist what you call someone who plays an organ?
Yeah, house organist.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just sounds weird. It sounds like medical.
Yeah, it does. Anything? No, that's all I have to plug at the moment. I don't have a film that's ready to come out yet, but I'm working at it. So hopefully next year or two.
Excited for Candlepin Bowling.
Yeah, that's one of two ideas. We'll see which one comes first, but
the other one's short track speed skating.
Yeah. Well, as of this conversation, yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, Carson.